Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Data Cloud Now. I'm currently in San Francisco, where I'm now delighted to be joined by Anshuman Banerjee, AI and Data Tribe lead at Spark New Zealand, along with Marco Diciolla, VP Go-to-Market at RelationalAI. And I'm delighted to be joined by my international correspondent, Jason Teets, for this conversation. Gentlemen, really looking forward to this conversation.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Let's start with Spark New Zealand and the overall mission to create market-leading AI-enabled experience for their customers in frontline and to be an AI adopter at scale across the organization. Anshuman, how is your team driving Spark's strategic vision around AI in data?
I think when we look at Spark, let me talk a little bit about Spark New Zealand.
That sounds
Spark New Zealand is the biggest telecommunications operator in New Zealand. And we are an agile company. And a lot of people say agile in quotes, but actually we are really, really agile in terms of taking technology and kind of actually doing something with it. For example, we've been one of the first in our region, in our geography, to actually bring in Snowflake and put our data into cloud. So that's what I mean by agile and being an early adopter of technology. Now, if I look at AI and the pace at which AI is progressing, I think that we are in one of the most innovative phases of, in business and tech at this point in time. And the only way that I think that we can really do something in this world at this point in time is by actually doing it, right? It's by getting our hands dirty and actually making things happen. And at Spark and our leadership, when they look at AI, they see it as not only an operational enabler for the organization, not an operational lever only, but it's actually a strategic lever to actually take Spark into this new world, into the age of AI, and also take our people on the journey with it. When I think of our team and how we work in the AI area, I'll give you an idea about how we have kind of perfected in certain ways, right? And perfection is a strong word, but I'll still use that in terms of how we work with our customers and the template, that pattern we have created. I think the first thing is that we've been able to go from a phase where you can take a proof of concept and take the proof of concept into production really, really easily. And that's where a lot of companies fail in terms of moving from POC and beyond POC. And that's the key phase that we have kind of gone over. The second is working really closely with our stakeholders to actually make us understand what their needs are and refine the product continuously till it achieves a critical mass and can actually get embedded into the ways of working of the organization. The third thing, which I think is really critical for us, has been really important, is the fact that we measure the outcomes. So every AI initiative that goes in, we are actually looking at what's the incremental value is generating for Spark. And all of these things together as a pattern has really helped us in embedding AI into the ways of working at Spark. And when I look at the kind of products that we have created and for different areas of Spark, for example, we have a product for consumer marketing. We have products for B2B sales, for small and medium enterprises, for our own employees and improve their productivity. So all of these, when I look at it, I think that we are probably one of the few companies like Spark out there who are using AI and actually embedding it into the lives of our employees and customers.
It's great to hear, and I want to dive in a little bit deeper, Anshuman, if you don't mind. Your team has a charter of adopting latest innovations and embedding AI into the ways you're working with a focus on measurable commercial growth and productivity gains. Can you tell us a little bit more and share some examples of these initiatives for the audience watching?
Yeah, sure thing. First of all, thanks for asking this question, because I think I'm a real fan of innovation. And we are trying our best to bring or do as much of our outcomes using ways which are innovative. I'll tell you a little bit about why I think, I was just talking about 2 minutes back, or in the previous question, as to why I think this is probably one of the most exciting times for us to be alive in this business and technology context of it. Because, and the reason why I say that is because I think innovation is going to skyrocket and leapfrog in the next 5 years. if you think of simple examples like how easy it is becoming to create things, right? It's becoming easier to code, it's becoming easier to create content, right? And in this world, if at Spark we are not innovating or we are not using others' innovation building on top of it, I think we'll lag behind. So what do we really do, right, in our company to actually, do the innovation? A few things. We created a platform internally, and this platform helps us to take a proof of concept, deploy it faster, and launch it faster, which means that if somebody has a new idea, it's relatively easier for them now to go from concept to productionization, which means people can experiment more with their time. The second thing which we have done and which I'm very interested in is that talent. I think we are increasingly over-indexing on hiring talent, which is more about creative thinking, problem solving. While there are people with specific skills like data engineering or data science, I think the core skill which is becoming important is the ability to solve a problem. And that's a skill that we are over-indexing on. The third thing is I like to give the team enough berth in terms of how they want to achieve the outcome. As long as what we want to achieve is clear, and if you're hiring good talent, it's important then to let them understand and bring in innovation and innovative ways in terms of how to achieve an outcome. So all of these things together, I think, it's kind of helping us towards bringing in new innovation. But at the same time, something to be really conscious about is that we are not doing innovation for the sake of innovation, right? It's about a business problem or an outcome which needs to be achieved. And we can look at innovation as the how part of it. How do you achieve that outcome? You can have innovation as part of it. So innovation is not the what for us. Some examples of it that I can think of that we have delivered on. In our contact centers, contact center agents receive calls. At the end of call, they used to spend 2 minutes documenting those calls. Now, documenting is not a value-added exercise. So what we have done is we have brought AI into the live part of a call, where as the call is ending, AI summarizes the call, it plays it back to the agent, and the agent can then refine that summarization and submit into CRM, which saves them 2 minutes. But more than savings, what we find is agents are using that extra time to build better experiences for customers and also enhancing sales, to have sales conversations, which is awesome. Another example is in the B2B sales area. If you generally talk about AI in B2B sales, you'll receive a standard response, which is that it's a very person-dependent field, and AI does not work in B2B sales. But we have a product now which brings together information about our customers from various different sources on the internet, annual reports and other technology roadmaps, etc. Brings it together, creates a profile of these customers, and clear SWOT profiles, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat profiles, and identifies which products that Spark has maps to their technology roadmap. So our agents can then talk to them. Now, this has had a really high traction with our sales agents in Spark. So I think in conclusion, multiple examples embedded across different parts of the business that we are working on. And one of the key things is about embedding them and getting them adopted in different parts of Spark. And we're very proud of what we are doing on this journey.
Great. Marco, turning to you. At RelationalAI, you bring knowledge graphs to the enterprise powered by relational reasoning. From your vantage point, what is driving this increased need for more sophisticated data modeling and reasoning capabilities? And what are the trends that you're noticing?
Love the question. So let me start from that. And look, I love that question because it goes straight to the why, of the work that we do actually. Okay, and look, I'm a simple person. Like enterprises need to make decisions, right? Like so, if they make good decision, you have a good business. If you have a bad decision, you have a bad business. They basically live or die by the quality and the speed of the decisions that they make. Now, over the past few years, there have been like a lot of advances in AI that have made our people and our enterprises better at question answering your data. Okay, so you can suddenly ask a question to your data, for instance, hey, what were my sales last month? And now you get questions to be translated into a SQL statement. You get, it's run on your table.
Right.
You get the answer straight away, right? Like, or you could say things like, hey, I need to understand how to fix a specific part of my network, and I have this information in documents. What shall I do to actually fix my network? And now you get RAG, like on a vector search on the documents. You get the information that you need. So a lot of the barrier to adoption has gone down, but enterprises are really complex. Okay, and the type of questions that enterprise need to ask, they're not always simple questions that you can actually do to text to SQL or vector search. Because a business executive might want to say, hey, I know my sales last month, but what will my sales look next month? Now, that's not the type of questions or data that you find in your table, right? And so what I'm trying to say here is that, unfortunately, yet large language models and Gen AI is not able to actually provide us with a toolkit to answer complex questions. And what's needed here for the enterprise is what I call a unified AI infrastructure that makes basically this Gen AI model, these LLMs, crazily smart. Okay, and we have a strong belief here that a relational knowledge graph grounding actually the domain context of an enterprise is one of the best way to help then this large language model to understand your business. And not only that, together with that, you need to have a set of what we're calling reasoners. Okay, the ability to reason on your data beyond text to SQL, or like beyond actually vector search. You need to be able to reason about graph. You need to be able to reason about optimization type of problems. You need to be able to reason about predictions. And so now you get an infrastructure that gives you basically knowledge graph with domain knowledge. You get an LLM, you get these reasoners, and now suddenly you're really able to power and ask questions about the past, the present, and the future, and then what to do about it. Okay, and so this is like the direction of travel here. I think there is a lot of excitement, and I think Snowflake and relational AI really, and with our partner, are really at the forefront of it.
Absolutely. Anshuman, I'd love to get your perspective on that as well.
Yeah, sure. I think, we have used graphs in the past, and I think graphs are really good in terms of modeling multidimensional relationships, right? Take an example of something like churn, right? And typically the way you do it is you'd create a predictive model or a machine learning model around churn today. But it's difficult to answer questions around different patterns of churn, right, using a model. What graphs let us do is to be able to answer questions, find cohorts of customers, and find similar patterns within these customers. Now, we are just dipping our toes on relational AI, but it's proving very interesting for us in the initial days. The real benefits that I see from relational AI at this point is that we are able to use SQL. And SQL, we've got huge knowledge about SQL within the organization. We are able to use Python on relational AI, and that's, again, we've got enough knowledge and skills on Python. I think that's a really unique combination for our data engineers and our data scientists and other people in the organization who understand SQL and Python really well, for them to be able to use relational AI. The other part is that we don't have to move the data out of Snowflake to be able to use, right? And that's an amazing thing for us because there's a huge cost to moving data. Right. There are security and other governance concerns around it. And to be able to use it within this one ecosystem makes it very easy for us to experiment with new things. And you'll probably hear about one of our talks tomorrow, which we're talking about digital twin on relational AI and how we are doing it.
It's great to hear. And Marco, today, Relational AI announced new product capabilities that integrate with Snowflake's AI Data Cloud. Can you share a bit more about these new offerings available to customers?
Absolutely, Ryan. There is a lot of innovation and there are a lot of capabilities that we are actually announcing to the market as of today. I'll start by saying first and foremost, there is we are announcing this, support for this new way of actually doing question answering, LLM question answering, which is, we call it text to reasoning. Really going beyond text to SQL and RAG and vector search to be able now to use these additional reasoners that I was just telling you about to do decision intelligence, really being able to properly make decision. Now, we are super proud. Like we got over the past like few weeks, we actually worked with one of our partners. We showcase some of these capabilities at a very prestigious benchmark called the Spider 2.0. It's probably the toughest benchmark for text to SQL, and we're basically on the top of the leaderboards together with our partners at AT&T. And that's just to text to SQL. And what that's showing really in simple terms is like, hey, if you take a knowledge graph and you give the knowledge graph to a large language model, that large language model becomes way more effective. So that's like capability number one. We are also announcing the integration and support for Snowflake semantic views. And so now what our joint customers will be able to do is to take a knowledge graph that contains this rich information about the business, the constraints, the rules, that the domain in which a business operates, and then feed that into Cortex Analyst, again, to have better accuracy. We're expanding our support for graph reasoning, and that comes with a tool set and a variety of different algorithms that we are releasing, so that now people are able to find even additional hidden patterns in their data. And then we are releasing support for integrated prescriptive reasoning, so optimization natively on top of Snowflake, on top of this semantic layer, and then predictive reasoning with graph neural network. So now our users will be able to actually ask questions about the future, and then this graph neural network produce the answer for you with really high level of accuracy and no ETL and no feature engineering whatsoever.
Cool. So Anshuman, how does the Snowflake AI Data Cloud support the initiatives that Spark New Zealand are looking to deliver?
Yeah, I think I'm really amazed and very interested in terms of where Snowflake Data AI and Data Cloud is going and the kind of partnerships that are coming across. The main advantages that I see of the AI and Data Cloud is to be able to leverage Snowflake's partnerships in this area. For us, I'd love to bring AI to where the data is, right? So that we don't need to move data to all of the different ecosystems where AI can be done on it. So from that perspective, it's really helpful. I'm very excited with the roadmap that was showcased and the different partnerships and the partners who are coming in. Having a wide ecosystem of partners is helpful. One of the biggest challenges in organizations like ours is the amount of time it requires to contract with a new partner. And by bringing these partners as part of this one ecosystem, it speeds up innovation for us because we don't have to contract with every new partner again and again. It's covered as part of the one master agreement with Snowflake. We don't have to bother about security and other governance factors as part of the all of this engagement. I think we're already playing with a few partners in the AI cloud. For example, RelationalAI is one of them, and that's going quite well. We are working with Streamlit significantly, and Streamlit is very helpful for us to be able to create quick proof of concepts and show it up on a user interface. And before we make it into a final product, easy to try things out and make it happen. We are interested in areas like data quality. Data is the new oil, and AI runs on data, and the entire credibility of the AI ecosystem depends on data. Today, there was a discussion around Horizon Cloud, which was very interesting. But again, Snowflake has multiple partners as well, and some of which we're exploring today on the data cloud currently. I think overall, as Snowflake brings in new partners, it becomes, I think the first point of exploration for us would be partnerships in this area, in the Snowflake AI Data Cloud, because it's easier to onboard. And the other part is it's easier to offboard as well. A lot of times contracts take time because we bring in these clauses to say it's 1 year, 3 years, etc. Difficult to offboard. If we make offboarding relatively easy, it makes it easier to onboard and experiment and then decide whether we want to go ahead or not go ahead. I think all of these things are very positive developments, and yeah.
Great to hear. And Marco, I want to dive a little bit deeper in for a moment. Why are relational knowledge graphs so important, and how is this enabling customers like SparkNZ with intelligent applications do more faster?
Great question, Ryan. So look, every enterprise or every organization is unique, right? Like, and every organization stores, knowledge in a variety of different ways. They store knowledge into tables. They store knowledge into databases. They store knowledge into spreadsheets. They store knowledge in people's head, right? Like, and they store knowledge into application code, right? Like when somebody writes a piece of code, it's actually a piece of business knowledge that is being encoded as a code within the application. Now that's great, but unfortunately creates a little bit of problem, because what happens is that it's very hard to have a unified view of how an organization operates. And that creates problem both internally, right? Like, so if you have an executive asking, hey, can you tell me a little bit what our sales looked last month? Now people scramble to figure out, hey, how do I produce this report? And is this flagged through here? Right, is false? Or do we look at customers and do we look at clients and whatnot? So that's problem number one. It's a problematic for new people joining the company that also need to learn, how companies operate really. And so they need to actually have the context, the knowledge to understand. And then I consider agents as the new generation of employees. They are like interns, right? Like, so you need to teach agents actually the domain which they operate. And so what I'm trying to say here is that knowledge silos and knowledge fragmentation create a lot of problems. Back in the day, Snowflake used to say, hey, our common enemy is are the data silos. I say our common enemy now are the knowledge silos here. And so relational knowledge graph, right, like, and relational AI, what's doing is really empowering our organization to have a way to, store, infer, share all things related to knowledge really. Now, I think that's really, really important. So you see organizations like our friends here at SparkNZ, where in a matter of weeks, right, we're not talking here, as Anshuman was saying, we just started our partnership together. In a matter of weeks, they were actually able to leverage Snowflake and a relational knowledge graph from relational AI to build a digital twin of their business, right? Like, and really start simulating then users and network behaviors. And so once you have that, then the next step is taking, and potentially teach an LLM that business, right? Like, and then complement that with a set of reasoners I was talking about, so that now, SparkNZ employees are able to ask all the sort of questions to the data and really move from maybe a reactive decision making to a more data-driven, data knowledge, AI-driven decision making.
Great perspective. Well, with you, Marco, I am curious, how do you envision the evolution of the role of enterprises leveraging relational knowledge graphs, and what do you think does that actually signal about the future of enterprise applications?
Yeah, absolutely. So that, again, another great question here. So look, a lot of very, very large tech companies, they're going very publicly saying that their differentiating factor, the reason why they're better than anybody else, it's because they have a knowledge graph that enables them to power a variety of different applications. We hear that a lot from the Palantir of this world, to the SAP, to the ServiceNow of this world. And, of course, I resonate very, very well with that statement. But I don't think actually that's enough. The reason why I don't think that it's enough is because and this is true for any technology, is technology is only useful if it's able to actually meet, people and enterprises, where they are, okay? And so where enterprises are nowadays are actually on relational systems like Snowflake. And so what's needed here is a relational AI infrastructure that meets people where they are. And sorry if I made a bit of a game of words here with the relational AI infrastructure, but that's really what I'm saying here, really meeting people where they are, right? Like giving the tools to do what they need to do. And specifically what I mean by that is an infrastructure that is, data-centric, so you're able to have all the different data types that you need to then make decisions, whether it's like tables, whether it's like JSON files, whether it's documents, whether it's a graph, whether it's images. But then it has a set of very powerful AI reasoners, so that you're able to do SQL, you're able to do vector search, you're able to do predictions, you're able to do optimization. On top of that, that infrastructure needs to be semantically aware, I call it. So capturing, the business domain in which then users and agents operate. And then last but not least, have a way for fine-tuning, or we call it super aligning LLMs to that business domain, and let them use then this powerful set of reasoning capabilities. Now, the reason why I think this is actually really, really important, it's because for the very first time, I think we're at the point where we're moving from a application-centric let's say world where you will bring data to the application to a data and knowledge-centric one, where you're actually bringing compute to the data and not the other way around. And by doing so, really, you are simplifying infrastructure, you are making better decisions, you are basically capturing the full value, right, like of data, knowledge, and AI.
Well, gentlemen, it's been such a pleasure sitting down with you here. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Thank you so much for joining us here on Data Cloud Now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ryan.
For the audience watching, I'm Ryan Green. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.